Canada, our home and native land. True patriot love in all of us command. With glowing hearts we see thee rise, the true north strong and free. From far and wide, O Canada, we stand on guard for thee. God keep our land glorious and free. O Canada, we stand on guard for thee. O Canada, we stand on guard for thee. வாழ்கனிரந்தரம் வாழ்க தமிழ் மொழி வாழிய வாழியவே வானமலர்ந்த அனைத்து மலர்ந்திடும் பண்மொழி வாழியவே கடல் வைப்பினும் தன்மனம் வீசி இசை கொண்டு வாழியவே எங்கள் தமிழ் மொழி எங்கள் தமிழ் மொழி என்றென்றும் வாழியவே சொல்கை நீங்க தமிழ் மொழியோங்க துலங்குக வையகமே தொல்லை வினை தரு தொல்லையகன்று சுடர்க தமிழ்நாடு வாழ்க தமிழ் மொழி வாழ்க தமிழ் மொழி வாழ்க தமிழ் மொழி வானமலர்ந்த தனித்து மலர்ந்திடும் வன்மொழி வாழியவே வளர்மொழி வாழியவே தமிழ் மொழி வாழியவே.
Thank you, Thamira. Please continue standing for a moment of silence as we reflect and commemorate on the lives of our brothers and sisters who lost their lives in Mullivaikal. Thank you all. You may please take your seats. At this time, we have made arrangements for a flower memorial and a lighting of a lamp. I would like to invite Nathan Veerasingam, followed by Reena Sriskandan at this time. I'd like to direct your attention to their screens. Thank you. At this time, I'd like to invite Mr. Siminalengo, the Canadian Tamil Congress's president, to say a few words.
Thank you, Ravina. First and foremost, I want to thank everybody for taking time to join us today as we mourn for the life lost 14 years ago. It's been 14 years and still we are advocating and fighting for justice and accountability and even after 14 years, nobody has been brought to justice for the atrocities that was committed in the last stages of the war in particular. As Canadian Tamil Congress, we will continue to advocate for justice and accountability as we have been doing it time at United Nations Human Rights Council. We also, while we mourn and we advocate for justice and accountability, and we also want to think about the lives of the survivors and the families who are left behind, and to improve their economic conditions. CTC has been undertaking a number of projects to help the people in the north and east of Sri Lanka. And as all of you are aware, the Made in Mullivaikal, the project that we have been working on, you will hear about this later today. We should continue to work towards improving the economic conditions and the living condition of the people, while we continue to advocate justice and accountability. And we will continue to do that. And if you go back in the 14 years ago in 2019, and we didn't have much influence in various levels of government, and when people were on the streets crying for others to speak up, there was no one there to stand up. But in 14 years, the Tamil community has really transformed and continued to grow and become truly influential. And today you may have seen the message from the Right Honorable Prime Minister Justin Trudeau on this Remembrance Day, and to that we have grown significantly over the last several years to become influential, so that people hear from us. So while we continue to improve the lives of the people, and we continue to advocate for the justice and accountability, and it is also important for us to do the best we can in our chosen field and improve and support the younger generations, and that's the only way in which we will grow as a community and become more and more powerful, so that there will be people who will hear our situations. And on that, I once again I want to thank everybody for joining today. And with that, I want to conclude.
Thank you, Siminalengo, for your words. At this time, I'd like to showcase a cover rendition song called Enge Irundalum Engalin Idayam by Thamira and Vin. If I can have you, Ravina, please post the video. Thank you.
எங்கிருந்தாலும் எங்களின் இதயம் உங்களுக்காக துடிக்கும். எங்களின் வாழ்த்து மழைத்துளியாகி உங்களை வந்து நனைக்கும். இது தாயின் உயிர் மீது
Thank you, Thamira and Vin. That was a beautiful cover. At this time, I'd like to invite Ms. Vani Selvaraja. She is a member of the Tamil diaspora in Canada and is a child of Tamil immigrant fleeing parents. A child of Tamil immigrants fleeing Sri Lanka, Vani has been drawn to the plight of Tamils. She has been actively involved with the community since 2008. She has been an active member and has served on the board of directors for the Canadian Tamil Congress, and she has also served as the board of directors for the Lawyers' Rights Watch Canada, an organization of lawyers who promote human rights around the world. Vani has regularly appeared before the United Nations Human Rights Council in Geneva, Switzerland, since 2011, addressing various human rights issues. She has participated in various meetings with other human rights groups, government officials, and committee members. At this time, I'd like to direct your attention to Vani. Thank you.
Thank you, Ravina. Thanks everyone for joining today. As Rango Anna had said, I was asked to talk about international work and the role that the UN has played in the Sri Lankan issue. And as Rango Anna said, 14 years ago, thousands of our people, I'm sure many of us here on this call, were on the streets calling for help. We were holding protests. We were asking the international community to do just about anything as people were being massacred back home. And after months of holding demonstrations and hunger strikes and rallies in Toronto to raise awareness of the bloodshed while demanding action from the Canadian government to intervene, it felt like our calls were falling on deaf ears. And shortly before the war, as many of you probably remember, over 2,000 Tamil people blocked the Gardiner Expressway. And it actually brought about quite a bit of attention, I would say, especially to the people, I guess, in Toronto. But when everything ended on May 18th, I think our people, we all felt very desperate. It felt like nothing had worked, no matter what we had, protested or called or asked for help, nothing was working, because there was actually no international attention or coverage on what was happening. And so it almost felt like it was a turning point for advocacy when it came to Tamil diaspora, especially because it felt like we needed to go back to the drawing board and to kind of maybe revisit how we were doing things and how we were advocating for things, and trying to figure out how it is that we can bring this issue to the international agenda. And I think that's when the UN comes into the picture. And the UN is considered an international body that failed the Tamil people. That has been said time and time again. And in fact, the UN Secretary General's own internal review on the UN's work in Sri Lanka basically called what happened there, and I quote, a systemic failure. It says that the events in Sri Lanka mark a grave failure of the UN to adequately respond to early warnings and to the evolving situation during the final stages of the conflict and its aftermath, to the detriment of hundreds of thousands of civilians, and in contradiction with the principles and responsibilities of the UN. So, Sri Lanka being discussed at the United Nations was actually a really important step when it came to international human rights advocacy. And all of this actually started, I'd say, in May 2009, when it didn't start off quite well, because it started off with a very deeply flawed UN resolution where the UN basically congratulated the Sri Lankan government for bringing the war to an end. And that was basically ignoring calls by some countries and NGOs for an international investigation into alleged human rights violations. Now, this resolution made absolutely no reference at all to any accountability mechanisms for abuses committed during the war. And after various reports, during that time period, including the panel of experts and the Petrie report, for the first time ever in 2012, the UN Human Rights Council actually passed a resolution that focused on accountability, which is basically what the Tamil diaspora was hoping for. And as Sri Lanka, in the months and years after that, failed to make meaningful progress, a third resolution was once again adopted in 2014. But again, this resolution gave time for Sri Lanka to implement its promises. But while incorporating previous positions, the council at this time, it also authorized the OHCHR to undertake a comprehensive investigation into alleged war crimes and crimes against humanity by both sides of the war. Another resolution was then again passed in 2015, the 2017 and 2019. And Malia is here and she's going to be speaking about what happened after 2015. But what's important to note is that the Sri Lankan issue has actually been on the international agenda, and the fact that it's the advocacy that's related to this has been quite important. But what we all really need to understand, especially at this juncture, is that it's actually not the only avenue that the diaspora should take. And it's actually a message that everyone, I guess, understands quite clearly, because Tamil groups, including CTC, have all been successfully advocating for justice and accountability in Sri Lanka. And these efforts, must continue. I think they are continuing. But we need to ensure that it's happening at all different angles. We need to continue to advocate for further travel bans, for further sanctions. We need to continue to engage with like-minded nations. And it's also really important for, a group like CTC, for example, to be engaging with other ethnic and religious groups to, move the needle forward. So, it's been 14 years. It feels like not a lot has been done, but at the same time, there has been, success. As Alango Anna said, we've created a platform where we're able to actually talk to other like-minded nations and create meaningful change. And I think this is really just an effort that we need to keep at, and just to ensure that we get accountability and justice for the thousands and thousands of lives that were lost. That concludes, I guess, my portion of it. I think Malia will be taking over from here, but Ravina, I don't know if you needed to say something before that. Thank you.
Thank you so much, and thank you for the work that you do. Clearly, you're very passionate, and that's obviously for the work that's shown, so thank you for that. The next speaker that we have is Maliha Wilson, and she is a senior counsel at Nava Wilson LLP and a fellow of the Chartered Institute of Arbitrators. Maliha served as an assistant deputy attorney general of the government of Ontario and participated in numerous notable cases at the Supreme Court of Canada. Malia has advocated on behalf of the Tamils of Sri Lanka at the United Nations Human Rights Council. She specializes in international human rights, indigenous and constitutional, corporate and labor law, and other complex litigation and advisory matters. If I can direct your attention to Maliha Wilson. Thank you.
Thank you very much for inviting me to say a few words. I want to thank Vani for all the fantastic work she did, really in the early days when we didn't have much support. I thought I wanted to, before I speak about what has happened at the UNHRC, mention two speeches, one from someone who is passed and one a speech that I heard about 2 weeks ago. So the first one is actually Pushparani Williams sent this to me. It is my grandfather's speech, Mr. Estevichavanaga's speech at the inaugural meeting of ITAC, December 1949. And he says, "Let us not have one name on our lips and another in our hearts. We are a poor people and have no powerful friends. We have to make up for this by the strength of our character, the steadfastness of our purpose, and the purity of our motives. India's freedom was won by such moral forces. We will do well to reflect on this and try to be united on this basis for the sake of our community." I think we can say that we have come some ways from that. We do have friends, one of them being various international organizations, including the UNHRC. But I also want to mention something that the chief ICC prosecutor, Karim Khan, mentioned. He was talking about people and humanity. And he said, justice and accountability are the basis and foundations of humanity. Without that, there is no humanity. And he also went on to say that when he goes to places where there has been genocide, and he sees, or alleged genocide, shall we say, and he sees the outrage in people's faces and eyes, that's when he knows there's still hope. I think that well describes us. We've been subject to genocidal acts, and many Tamils are outraged. And I think it is very important that we do not lose that sense of outrage so that we can continue to fight for justice and accountability. Sri Lanka is well known for having full impunity. There has been no consequence for any of the acts that were committed, certainly during the end of the war, but also during the war and before that, since independence. Since 2015, there have been various resolutions passed by the UNHRC, one even co-sponsored by Sri Lanka, by the present president of Sri Lanka. None of the requirements of those resolutions have been met by Sri Lanka, and I think it is understood now that there is no purpose in having any domestic mechanisms in order to achieve justice or accountability. In fact, we are a long way from reconciliation. Most recently, the resolution was passed as a result of no action being taken by Sri Lanka that set up a mechanism with the Office of the High Commissioner of the UNHRC to provide for evidence collection, and in order that there could be a body of evidence to preserve and analyze relating to violations and abuses of human rights and related crimes in Sri Lanka, with a view to, and I'm reading this, to advancing accountability and to with a view to advancing accountability. So the idea is that this evidence will be collected and then can be taken to an international court or a court of a country that recognizes universal jurisdiction in order for there to be prosecutions for the crimes that occurred. The Office of the High Commissioner is in the process of carrying out this evidence collection. Recently, there was, about 8 months ago, there was concern that there wouldn't be enough money for this. It's called the Sri Lanka Accountability Project, but certainly the US stepped up, and the financial shortfall has been made up. Now the challenge is to find the witnesses. I think they have been very successful in getting witnesses who are outside of Sri Lanka, but of course to get the witnesses who are in Sri Lanka is more difficult because the prosecutors are not allowed into the country. And of course, there is great fear, and there is also an ongoing re-traumatization aspect to it all. But it is very important that this evidence be collected, because once it is collected, then it opens up, as I mentioned, other courts, such as perhaps the ICJ and universal jurisdiction aspects. Even more recently, the Sri Lanka government made quite a bit of the fact that they were amending the Prevention of Terrorism Act. In fact, the new act that they introduced has been roundly criticized for being even worse than the Prevention of Terrorism Act. No realistic political solution has been suggested. In fact, although my grandfather's initial political party was called the Federal Party, since then what has been discussed is more in the form of a devolution as opposed to federalism. Nevertheless, there is a bit of good news. As I said earlier, we have lots of friends internationally. we have powerful countries like Canada and the United States and the UK supporting us, and sometimes even Germany. But along with that, I think that we have a strong and vibrant diaspora community, and in Sri Lanka on the ground, movements like the Aragalia movement provide a glimmer of hope. For instance, there's interesting projects going on right now, UN funded in Sri Lanka, where they are making documentaries about the history of Sri Lanka, starting from independence, but giving a full picture of what was the actual history, as opposed to a government-centric, singular Buddhist version of the history of Sri Lanka since independence. So I've seen some workups of some of these, and they do provide some hope for perhaps a resolution in the future for all the suffering that the Tamil people have gone through. So on that slightly optimistic note, thank you very much for listening to me.
Thank you so much, Ms. Malia Wilson. We're always very thankful for your leadership and support, and keep us hopeful for the progress that we will continue to seek for accountability and justice. So thank you. At this time, I'd like to invite Father Emmanuel Sebamale, if he's here. If not, we are going to be opening up the platform for people to speak about their experience or their thoughts about Mullivaikal. So if you'd like to speak, please raise your hand, and we'd like to hear your thoughts. I can start off with mine. I think when 2009 happened, I believe I was in elementary school, or maybe in high school, I'm not too sure, but my parents were really headfast on joining, going to all the protests. And at a very young age, I think that was my introduction to the Tamil community, other than people that are inside like our family. And so I could see not the Tamil diaspora, not only on the streets of Toronto or in Ottawa, it went on to like the media, and you see it going from Switzerland to France. And I could actually see the power of the diaspora coming together. And it's more than sharing recipes, it's more than sharing songs, movies, and jokes. It's actually combining us together with the love for our people through hurt, grief, mourning. So through that, seeing that was able to really instill a sense of resilience, and to make sure that wherever our presence is, it's to be stronger. So I think what happened at Mullivaikal was a turning point for a lot of diaspora in finding their identity, and it's continues to do so until we seek accountability, and we're holding on to our last names more stronger, and we will continue to do so. So that is my experience. And if anyone would like to share their own, all of our mourning and our grief is a collective support. So if anyone would like to speak on their experience, we would be more than happy to hear you out. Don't be shy. If not, I'd like to welcome Ravina Rajasingham. Oh, we have someone raise their hand. Thank you. Tamira, if you'd like to say a few words.
Hello?
Yeah.
Hi. So I think Ravinaka, like you pretty much summed it for all of us. So I think when it took place, I was 8 years old. So I don't recall a lot, like in the sense, meaning I was young, I didn't know what was going around me, but I think my main source of information came from my grandma. So my grandma was very much passionate, and she was living in Canada, but I always say her body was here, but her soul was there. And so I think I was able to see like a sudden pain, a sudden worry in her eyes, which I haven't seen before in all the years that I've known her. So I think that was my first like memory of knowing, okay, there's something wrong. And then as years grow up, like we live, yes, we live in Canada. And so we're not always surrounded with our culture and our heritage, and our pain and struggles are not always as open as we expect it to be. But I think as years went on, through like external sources and through family members and through like people that are older than us, we were able to learn that, okay, there was a lot going on, and there's something that we need to do to also step up to be there to support that and also spread that information to the upcoming generation of youth and kids. So I think like it's been a long journey for me to figure out what my emotions were with it. But I think slowly through the information I was able to, and hopefully that's the case with a lot of the younger generation. And hopefully we see that come forward with many of the upcoming youth as well.
Thank you for sharing. I agree. I think when we have like all these stories come up, it's the way that we are sharing. Sometimes we share it through music, like you have beautifully put. Some people share it through poetry and sharing experiences on platforms like this. So thank you for sharing that. I'd like to invite Subhash Sundaraj to say a few words as well, if you'd like. Subhash, I think you're on mute. If you'd like to unmute yourself. Anyone else would like to say a few words? As if okay.
Subhashana, I think you're on mute. Do you wanted to share something?
While we wait for Subhash, Anna, I think he might have to connect.
Okay,
to
let me
audio.
see. Let me see if I could unmute him.
Okay. I think he might have to connect to the audio to play with his sound settings. But in the meanwhile, I will invite Rishi Sriskandan to say a few words.
It's actually Rina. I'm using my son's.
Oh, sorry, Rina. Go ahead.
Yeah. Let me see if I can switch my camera. Oops. Hi. Yeah, so I was here in 2009. I remember going to the around 2009. I was pregnant with Rishi, my son, and we, I think somewhere in downtown, we were there with the flags and all, while the last bit of war is happening. But what I remember, like I think. I don't know if most of you might know, there was this Munnari Pachal happened, and we had to move from Jaffna to Colombo and Klinochi. So my parents, because of the past issue, my parents left me with my Perima, who was at the time living in Klinochi, Viswamade. So to my Perima's house, there's this lady. She will come to help, help around the house and stuff. And she had a little son, probably around that time, maybe 12 or 14. So and I was friends with him and stuff. And then while this Mullivaikal thing happened, they got into it. So they actually were in the Mullivaikal and they were running for their life while this war is happening. And while with the 3 little children, this boy is married by then. Sorry, Anthea. 1 second, Anthea. So then they were running for their life and he got hit with a bullet and he's still alive with the bullet. He couldn't take it off because if they tried and if they try to remove it, it's gonna he might lose his life. So he's still living with it, and he has 3 young children. And when I went, I think back in 2000 back in 2016. I went in, saw them in person, and their lifestyle is like, it's very, very, they're in big need and financial, and their house was like, I don't know how to explain. It's like, if it's rain, the water will get in, and they have to put the dishes to get the water so it doesn't get spread everywhere. So that's the life they're living. So we, every time we get a chance, we try to help them out. So yeah, and I'm still in contact with those people, and that's very emotional to talk about. Yeah, I didn't experience, but I experienced through somebody that I know.
No, thank you for sharing. I know these stories are very often hard to come across, but thank you for sharing that. It really tells us how it continues to impact people. What didn't kill him only makes him stronger. So, I hope that your family will find healing in that. And thank you for helping and sharing that. At this time, I'd like to invite Mr. Subhash Sundaraj to say a few words.
Yeah, sure. Thank you so much, Ravina. And yes, 2009, I was here and it was horrible. And we all, like Ilangana said, we couldn't do much. We did protesting, but our voice never heard by international community. And Sri Lankan government conducted the war, and so many innocent lives got lost. And I was in Sri Lanka last year, pretty much the entire year. I was traveling a lot everywhere. And just imagine those kids who survived in 2009 war when they were a year old, 2 year, 5 year, 10-year-old kids. Today, what they got to go through psychologically, right? I think as a diaspora community, we're all doing very well all over the world. We all should unite together and do something for those people who live there. That's all I got to say. Thank you.
No, I agree. Thank you so much. It is true. These children are affected. And today, I think I saw a post where, we usually offer food to the dead, and they were offering like lollipops and sweets for children who pass. So it's really difficult to see. So thank you for highlighting that. I think we have one more speaker. I think it's Rahavi who'd like to say a few words.
Hi, thank you. To add on to what Parmira said, I think the main aspect I want to talk about is how we can have the future know what we went through. And I witnessed the pain through the eyes of my family, and that pushed me into wanting to work towards a voice for us. And the pain will forever be there. And through organizations such as CTC and upcoming youth organizations such as Tamil Youth Society and school TSAs, we must ensure that our past is never forgotten. Thank you.
Thank you. You're absolutely right. I think the more that we get involved and we share like the platform, I think we will continue to resist and share our thoughts. So thank you. At this time, I'd like to invite Ravina Rajasingham, the Vice President of the Canadian Tamil Congress, to say a few words.
Vanakkam. Thank you all for attending the 14th year Mullivaikal Memorial event. And it has been really, really great to have a lot of the speakers come out and speak and talk about what we have accomplished up to this point and what we're going to be accomplishing. And also to share the pains that we all went through in 2009. And sometimes sharing is healing, but we still got a lot of work to do back home. So, and I hope we all will get gathered together, work as a one team, and be able to accomplish and find help and whatever we can do to bring their livelihood up. And I just wanted to say our sincere thanks to all the speakers, Vani Salvaraja, Maliha Wilson, and also to Reena Srikant and Nathan Veerasingham, Tamira Rajikaran, and Venu, for your contribution in being part of this very, very, very important memorial event. And all those, there's lots of young people who have joined this meeting, and thank you for coming. You are the next generation who are going to be with us and going to continue to remember our souls and our sisters and brothers back home. So thank you so much for being here. And also, I wanted to say thank you to our MC Ravina Ravindran for doing an exceptionally wonderful job in carrying this out. Thank you very much, Ravina. Also, I'd like to say that Canadian Tamil Congress continues to support those who survived the war with various necessities to rebuild their lives. And what we say, we've been doing a lot of projects, but what our goal is to help them, especially the women. We want to empower the women, whether they're sari makings, or take them out of those poverty and the jobs that they may not want to be part of, but they have to go to earn money. We want to take them out of those jobs and bring them to a dignified job where they can be who they wanted to be, and also support their family. Some of the women are just a single, they are the sole supporters of the family. And we want to make sure that they're given an opportunity, and we're working very, very hard. And sari, the rayon and cotton saris by weaving is one of the initiatives that we are doing to empower those women and young people. There's other projects that we did is to, this is a memorial event, but I just want to say that we could make their lives better. But we also have done other projects such as building houses for them after the war. But what we're saying is that we all could come together and put our efforts and help them as much as we can to rebuild their lives. So if you think about if the child was really now, they were just born during that war, they're actually now 14 years of age, and they probably don't have a mom or dad, but whatever we could help to make them, bring back their dreams or whatever they want to do, whatever we could help, that will be really good. So I just wanted to end this saying that next year marks the 15th year memorial, and we will have in-person memorial, and we hope to see you all there. And to thank you all for those who joined us today and being with us to share this this memorial event, and really speak from your heart and to see what we could do next to help those. Thanks again for everybody, and vanakkam.
Thank you, everyone. That concludes our event. We hope that you take this day and continue to remember, and it's going to be a heavy day. So we hope that you take your time and your space and reach out to resources where you can. Thank you.